Okay, folks, what we're looking at here is Antarctica, the great continent of wonderment. It's untapped gold here, depending on what your definition of gold is. There are no permanent residents, only scientists, and they only live here on a rotational basis. A lot of that has to do with weather, but it's also a treaty in place so that we can keep the warmongers out of there, right? So it's hippie land. It's the land of wonderment, which is why we see so many conspiracy theories, and it's always something connected to Antarctica. The treaty is to ensure the continent is peaceful. It's to ensure that there is international cooperation in research, and the treaty does not allow any sort of military activity. You can't test your nuclear bombs here. You cannot get rid of your radioactive waste, and there are no territorial claims. And there's also EPA measurements in place. Treaty was signed by 12 nations. Cool enough, right? 12 nations coming together to sign a treaty. Either it's something going on or it's something going on. I'm going to put the treaty up here right now for y'all. Y'all can see it. Check it out. Check it out. Island population is largest during the summer months, of course. It's cool. People can be outside, and you're not going to be wearing shorts, but, it's not that crazy, right? And I'm going to put the temperature graph up here for y'all to check that out. And this is where it's located on the world map. Geographically, as you can see, it's the southernmost continent, and it's pretty much circular in shape. It centers around the South Pole. Now, let's talk about flat earth theory and its relation to Antarctica. So, flat earth theory assumes that the earth is a disk, it's not a sphere, it's not a ball floating around in space, it's literally a frisbee, right? So, let's talk about the flat earth model. So, basically, the continent of Antarctica is not a landmass at the South Pole on the flat earth model. It's basically an ice wall. It keeps things in place. It's the glue that holds everything together. That's what Antarctica is on the flat earth model. As you can see, the ice wall is surrounding the flat earth, right? It's surrounding the flat earth, and it's preventing the ocean from spilling from their edges, which is great. It's keeping us all safe. And when we're looking at this model, the people that believe in this believe that the Antarctic Treaty is basically a global conspiracy. Like I said, it was signed by 12 nations, enforced by the world to keep us from crossing the wall and really discovering the true edge of the world. Something like Narnia, once you go into that wardrobe, once you see the other side, you will not be the same. So that's basically what they're thinking we are. All right, y'all, let's talk about the father of flat earth theory. We have a man named Samuel Robotham. He was born in 1816. He is English. He was an inventor. He was a writer. He wrote a book called Zetetic Astronomy, Earth is Not a Globe. That's his origin story. He is the leader of the flat earthers. He is the originator, right? So what he did was an experiment. Okay, so he got a telescope and he got a boat. He put a post in the boat and he went to the old Bedford River in England. Right. And what he did was he pushed that boat and he waited till the boat got 6 miles down the river. Right. You see the river right here. This is where I'm at. This is my current location. And he put his little eye in the telescope and he was like, oh, snap. I still see the post. If the earth had a curve to it, I shouldn't be able to see this. Right. And, he went to tell his friends, yada, yada, yada. He's at the pub drunk. I found out what the earth really was, right? He got a cult following, and that's basically where it started. He was so inventive as well, he created his own scientific method. It is called practical scientific investigation, y'all. Zetetic reasoning, based on his own sensory observations and his own experiments. This is how he got to the ice wall. He said that the ice wall bounded the earth primarily because his zetetic method required an edge. If the earth is flat, you have to have an edge. It's kind of like a tub, right? You have to have something that's keeping the water in, because if it was just flat, you would have no water, right? You can't take a bath in a flat tub, right? So, due to Antarctica being unexplored, untapped back in those days, nobody lived there. He just kind of assumed, like, hey, that's where the wall is. Like, nobody goes there. Nobody lives there. That has to be the ice wall that's bounding us. And he also believed that the North Pole was basically dead center of our Earth. And, today we would call that pseudoscience, right? We would call that pseudoscience today. But you got to listen too. He used biblical interpretations, or no, you got to listen. Look, he used the Bible to support his points. Back then people were very religious. Y'all, I don't know if y'all saw my video last week about the Salem witch trials, but yeah, it gets serious, man. This, witchcraft. A modern day magician would be a witch back then. I'm just trying to tell you, right? So he used biblical interpretations to support his point. In the Bible, specifically Psalm and Job, they talk about the four corners of the earth, the pillars of the earth, if you will. And in the Bible, it's more is interpreted to be more metaphorical. It's supposed to be more metaphorical. It's not literally scientific descriptions. But back then he used that, and he was like, "Hey, the Bible says it, man. Are we real Christians?" Let's get back to the ice wall. As far as ice walls, man, these things are massive. We're talking about 150 feet high. Back in the day, they did not have the same sophistication when it came to climbing gear. Hell, I don't even know if they had climbing gear. They didn't have drones. So to them, this is like the wall from Game of Thrones. Like, we don't go past this. You know what I'm saying? Nobody respawns here. Nobody spawns here. We are still figuring out this territory, right? And so in Samuel's head, he's like, yeah, this for sure. Like, this is the wall that keeps the water. This is our tub, bro. This is super high too, man. Imagine being in a small sailboat and literally sailing down this, I guess you could call it a canal, sailing down this canal and just seeing these massive walls. You don't know what's up there. You don't know. Like, we know White Walkers weren't a thing, but hell, I mean, if I was there, I would think it might be some White Walkers up there. Anyways, we're going to get into some conspiracy theories that are linked to Antarctica. Now that I've gave y'all a little bit of history, flat earth theory. All right, brothers and sisters, let's get a little bit conspiratorial. Let's talk about the secret Nazi bases supposedly in Antarctica. I want to switch gears a little bit. So, the Germans went on an expedition in 1938. They were doing aerial surveys of Queen Maud Land. This is East Antarctica for the uninitiated. I'll put up a map for y'all, right, so you can see it. The Germans basically wanted to overwrite the claims that the Norwegians made. And you got to understand, at this time, Germany was big dog. Like, they had their way. They was having their way. They did whatever they wanted to do. Nobody could tell them nothing, pretty much. They did things how they wanted to do. So as they're taking these aerial surveys, they're dropping their markers, and their markers are metal swastikas, right? Germany was ran by the Nazi party back then. You keep that in mind, right? So they did their research, yada yada yada. But the funny part was, after years and years, none of the research came out. Like, none of it was seen. So naturally, the human mind is gonna wonder. And plus, they're Nazis. There's already some conspiratorial, blue-eyed, blonde-haired, 7-foot tall Aryan, weird wonderment stuff going on with the Nazis anyway. So people are already gonna be like, you haven't published research. What do these people know? Anyways, none of this stuff was completed. So let's fast forward to 1945. Let's get 2 months after the Germans were defeated. There were 2 German U-boats that were stopped in Buenos Aires. South Americans that stopped them assumed that they were smuggling senior Nazis, but there were none on board. However, the U-boats were tied to the Germans' expedition to Antarctica. And they supposedly were on another mission to carry Nazi leadership to their secret Antarctic base, constructed on their initial land survey in 1938. So that's kind of that conspiracy theory. It's really nothing concrete. It's just pure speculation. All right, y'all. Let's talk about the second conspiracy theory. We're talking about Admiral Byrd. He was an American aviator, very decorated, legend. Look at him right there with his dog. Just my man's legendary, shaking presidents' hands, having his way, willing and dealing, doing what he want to do. Right. Big time. He was one of the early explorers as far as American history when it comes to Antarctica, right? He stayed in an operational camp on Ross Ice Shelf, which is right behind me. This is where I'm at right now, and I have to tell y'all it is terrifyingly cold over here. So let me get to the point. He stayed in an operational camp called Little America. It had the full gamut: scientists, engineers, cooks, support staff, naval personnel. It was as close to a military base as you can get. During some of his early expeditions, he discovered extensive mountain ranges. He even supposedly inspired an H.P. Lovecraft novel called Mountains of Madness. Pretty interesting. His biggest thing, though, is his participation in Operation High Jump, which was 1947 through 1948. And he did a survey flight over this area called Bunger Hills, right? And it was an area surrounded by ice sheets, but the place that he found, there were no ice sheets. It damn near just looked like an island in the middle of an ice cube. Like, so for one, it was weird because it's like, why is this land ice free? And why does it kind of like give tropical vibes? Right. And there was an unfrozen lake in the center. And what he called it was one of the most remarkable things on Earth. And this guy's a pilot. Like, he flies over Earth. I mean, I'm not saying he hits every place in Earth. That would be nearly impossible, especially back then. But what he thought he found was one of the most remarkable places on Earth. It was an island suitable for life that was found in the universe of death. Theorists pretty much believe that the bird was met by representatives of a highly advanced subterranean race. They are referred to as the Agarthians/Riani. They live in a crystal-like metropolis inside of the Earth, and that's kind of where Hollow Earth intersects this sort of conspiracy. And let's be real too, we see a lot of UFOs, or they refer to them as UAPs nowadays, that go from being airborne to just flying into the ocean. That's kind of weird. And add the fact that I think at least like 70-80% of the ocean is unexplored. I may be wrong. I'll put the actual statistic on the screen, but it's still a little bit far-fetched for me. But it's one of those things. It's like, would be cool if it's real. I'm not sure though. But anyways, back to the story. Whenever he got back from the mission, the government obviously covered it up. They said the bird was detained and interrogated by high-ranking military officials, and the Pentagon was sworn to secrecy about his discoveries, as the public was deemed not ready, as we're usually deemed as not ready when it comes to anything pertaining our safety. So when the aliens come, they'll just come. We won't know. We'll just be walking to our mailbox and see something from Men in Black. Right? Okay. And allegedly the diary was published years after his death, and it is a proponent of the Hollow Earth theory. Dr. Raymond Bernard, who used it to connect Byrd's polar expeditions to existing myths about an inner-earth civilization and the origins of UFOs. So they supposedly discovered his diary, and this was inside of it. Now, if we're going to talk about Dr. Raymond Bernard and kind of do some research on him, he was an alternative health advocate and an esoteric writer who basically formed his own alternative reality and subculture. So let's look at some of his books. He has The Creation of Superman. He has a book called The Hollow Earth, Agartha, The Subterranean World. So when we look at him and we judge his validity, I would say it's a little bit in the air, because it would only make sense for him to find this guy's diaries and use it to validate his own sort of things that he has going on. So I don't know if I would actually trust that, but that's where it's coming from, man. It's interesting enough, though. Next theory. All right, y'all. The last theory that we're going to talk about is the Wilkes Land Impact Crater Anomaly. This happened in Antarctica. I'm going to play you guys this video. This guy is very concise. He's straight to the point. And I'll link him in the bio. Anyways, watch this video.
Landscape of southeastern Antarctica lies a large zone with two intriguing and paradoxical properties. First discovered during the Victoria Land Traverse between 1959 and 1960, the seismic and gravity data collected during the expedition led to a hypothesis that the region is the site of a large impact crater, now named the Wilkes Land Anomaly. The area features a large land depression and a negative gravity anomaly, which is to say that the gravity in this zone is measurably weaker than normal. The proposed crater is around 150 miles wide and has since been upgraded from a possible to probable impact crater. Further research into the anomaly revealed the land depression may be significantly larger, at around 300 miles wide. Within this larger area, they discovered that there is a small but significant concentration of mass, leading to a larger gravitational pull, named the Wilkes Land Mascon.
So now that we've hit the scientific side, let's talk about the conspiratorial side. People claim that it may be a massive alien base, a crashed UFO, a hidden city, any sort of thing that is foreign could be under there just because of the gravitational anomaly. Plus, we aren't able to dig it up and see. So, like I said before, obviously people are going to wonder what it is. And we see UFOs flying into the ocean. And by UFO, I mean just by classification. I don't know if it's some sort of technology that foreign country has. It could also be that, but we do see objects flying into the ocean, right? And then also it could be connected to the hollow earth theory. It could be a portal into the hollow earth. That's another sort of conspiratorial line of thinking when it comes to that. I think Antarctica is cool because of the fact that it is untapped. Obviously near the coast, the peninsula, we found fossils, we haven't found anything extremely crazy, but we also haven't really dig through thick layers of ice on the mainland. And I don't know if we will or when we will be able to dig through hundreds of feet of ice. I don't think it's very financially viable. And I don't know if we have the technology to do it on such a massive scale. So that's why it's kind of cool to me. I mean, I've always liked movies like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. I like thinking that there's just otherworldly things going on that we don't see from day to day. So those are my thoughts. If I was going to say a theory was plausible or the most plausible theory to me, it would probably be the Nazi base. Just because they were already there and they made a base and they took so long to publish the documents. So they may know something. And that's why I'm kind of skeptical about all of these flying objects that we see, that airplane pilots supposedly chase, because I think it's more likely to be alien technology from foreign nations versus aliens coming into our galaxy and actually like setting up shop. I don't think that's probable. I mean, I still like to think it's possible, but I believe more in ghosts than I believe in aliens, to be honest. I mean, I think they exist, but I don't know if they're really impacting us from day to day. Because if it was something that would or like had the possibility of impacting us, I think the word would have gotten out. The word would have gotten out clear. There's so much an NDA is going to protect. I mean, if you're an 80-year-old man on your deathbed, you're probably going to tell everything. I would tell everything, especially when it comes to aliens. Like, there's some secrets you can go to your deathbed with, you can die with, but there's some things where it's like, I gotta tell people. I gotta tell people when they do have people that come out and say things, but it's just so off the wall that you just kind of look at it like, is this like one of those disinformation campaigns? Like, this is just ridiculous. Like, listen to one of those old radio shows. I forgot what it was called. Listen to Coast to Coast. Listen to some of the stuff on Coast to Coast. I haven't listened to it in a while, long time, but when I was a kid I used to listen to it, but it just sounds crazy. Like they're talking about races of aliens on stars and how they have the files, and they know somebody that knows somebody. And you have to think too, we're in a rat race in America, and it's pretty similar in all the other Western countries too. So anything to get people to listen is gonna put dollars in your pocket. So it's hard for me to believe some stuff. I would like to see stuff myself, and in the future I would like to maybe go to different places where things have been said to happen. Like I've said, I believe, or I don't even know if I said it, but I believe more in ghosts, that sort of paranormal thing, than anything else, because I've had experiences. So I mean, I would like to go film things. I would like to go to different places and see, you know, the possibilities are endless. So, you know, y'all go ahead, like, subscribe if you feel me. You know, just keep making more videos. This is fun to me. You know, I made music for 8 years. I got tired of paying engineers to mix. I got tired of having to buy equipment, buy beats. This is more fun in a way. You know, I still dabble a little bit, but you know, this is more fun. And you know, it's only gonna get better. My research is gonna get better. My comfortability is gonna get better. The videos are gonna get better. I'm just still trying to figure it out, man. This is my 3rd video. We'll see how it goes. Please like, subscribe. Goodbye.